When it comes to any project, whether it be indie or Hollywood budget, the key to success is often down to the fans. Some newer media does generate a fandom very quickly, often through intuitive online marketing campaigns and social media. Movies like Longlegs and Bring Her Back created a whole out-of-cinema experience for people to interact with. So for Bring Her Back and Talk to Me, you kind of have this dark web website where you can find all of the artifacts that are featured in the movie. And with Longlegs, they did the whole ARG marketing campaign, which basically allowed fans to interact with all of these clues before the movie came out. And with indie projects, you often find a lot of free-to-watch pilot episodes available on spaces like YouTube, which regularly serve as a way to generate hype and interest in a project, as well as further fund the creation of that project. Thanks to the success of Hazbin Hotel's pilot episode, which was released to Visipop's YouTube channel 6 years ago, we now have 5 guaranteed seasons and a finale as backed by media giant Amazon Prime. Although after the whole Friendship is Magic episode ending of season 2, where all of the characters are going like this, to like stop the whole missile thing to heaven exploding. Spoilers, I guess, it's been out for ages, come on guys. Realistically, I don't really know what else they're gonna explore in 5 seasons. I feel they've covered a lot of the things and a lot of the mysteries that people were already thinking about. Like Vox's whole evil plan already kind of got stopped in season 2, so unless he's gonna somehow be the big bad in the finale, I kind of feel like they kind of speed ran that a little bit. Not to mention that fans of all interests and skills keep the community alive and active through fan works and fan art. For example, before big brands like Good Smell Company were stepping up to the plate in order to make new Serial Experiments Lane merchandise, the only way of buying any kind of merchandise for the series was either paying insane aftermarket costs or supporting an indie artist at anime conventions or on places like Etsy. To be clear, being a fan is not a problem a good 99% of the time. And of course, myself and many other creators can literally only do this job because of the support of people online who enjoy what we make or who enjoy us as people for as much as they get to know us through a screen. We rely on that support, we rely on that fandom. However, one of the biggest growing issues I'm noticing with a lot of online and offline fandom spaces are the fans themselves. Self-cannibalizing, self-aggrandizing, and often so loud but so wrong. It feels like there's a nearly weekly rotation of different fandom drama and discourse. Fans have started to unintentionally erode their own communities and at times even limit the new content being produced by the media or creator that they love. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the issues with fandoms. Let's talk about the issues with the fans. And I am going to give a very quick disclaimer because I feel like it's going to be necessary because some fans are just insane, and I feel like at least putting this disclaimer out there will quell some of the anger that I'm sure people are already feeling as they're typing on the keyboard. But let's make this clear. Watch the whole video before you get angry, number 1, always the way to do it. And number 2, I am not here to chastise fans of a certain age. I'm not here to chastise fans who are new versus old. And so again, my opinion is not the oracle. You don't have to take it as fact, but I want to kind of delve into some of the issues that people have highlighted to me and that I have noticed when it comes to fandom behavior, when it comes to fans, and you're welcome to agree or disagree, because at the end of the day, we're all allowed our own opinion, but let's be nice about it. Let's be constructive about it. So today's video was sponsored by the beautiful members over on my Patreon, because we don't have a regular sponsor, but we do have our ongoing channel supporters. Starting at $2.50 a month, you can get ad-free and downloadable viewing of all of my publicly available content. And for Otaku and Oshi tier patrons, you also get early access viewing of my content when possible, and of course, additional Patreon exclusive content for those tiers. Some of my most recent Patreon exclusive content has included an updated office and collection tour, which is over an hour long, as well as my 2 panels from MegaCon London, including 1 interactive panel that you can play along with whilst you watch. And of course, I have more travel vlogs and other video ideas planned, so stay tuned for that too, because they'll be uploaded and scheduled as we go on. In a time where about 90% of the emails myself and other creators get for sponsorships are AI, stuff like Dollar AI, which are persistent and constant and you can't filter them out, it is really important and it's really, really appreciated to have people actively supporting me, my channel, what I make and create. Your direct support does mean a lot. It does mean the world. So if you can, please consider checking out the Patreon. So first, I do really want to make sure I give fans their flowers, because it truly would be a crime to undermine how much heavy lifting fans do in almost every niche and subculture. For example, AO3 is essentially the fanworks equivalent of the Library of Alexandria. This site has allowed many number of beautifully written, badly written, and written with one hand stories. When I guested at AkumaCon in Galway earlier this year, I saw a fantastic panel hosted by people who are obviously big fans of AO3, all about the ABCs of AO3. I got a passionate rundown and crash course on things like the citrus scale and author's curse. Because I'm gonna hold my hands up when I say this, I'm actually not a big AO3 user at all. I have barely used the site. I don't know why. I never really got into fan fiction in the sense of Wattpad or AO3. I don't know why. I never really got into it. I feel like it's something you usually get into when you're younger. And that's not me saying that it's for kids, but what I'm saying is I feel like you usually discover AO3 when you're a teenager, or at least get into it a bit younger. I feel like I just never even knew about it or gravitated towards it. And so it was really fun now learning about it and kind of learning how to use it if I ever decide that I want to actually sit down and read some fan works. And the existence of sites like AO3 not only continue to feed the fans of long since discontinued series, but has also been instrumental when it comes to a lot of queer representation, a lot of queer fan works, and also a space for people to explore and discover their gender identity or their sexuality. Fans are, more often than not, the ones that are creating queer stories and queer media, allowing those underrepresented in almost every single type of media to finally have a place where they can be put into a story, put into a type of media. Speaking from personal experience, the only kind of gay representation I ever saw in media came a lot later as a teenager. I didn't really see any at all actually as a kid, and that was from Ugly Betty and series similar to it. And that was also, again, gay men, not gay women, not lesbians. And so again, I feel like having spaces like AO3 and knowing that those exist is so important for queer teenagers to discover who they are and have a space to freely explore that safely. Queer ships like Fallon and Marcel or Madoka and Homura may not be officially canonized, but within the fandom, these are commonly accepted headcanons that may as well just be canon. And equally, not just the written creations of fans, but the physical creations of fans need to be heralded too. No matter what kind of niche series, book, or media that you're into, you can almost always find somebody selling a trinket or a keychain or an art print of it at an anime convention or on selling sites like Shopify and Etsy. I'm having to be very careful whilst holding this, but this is a Lane fan statue that I purchased a good couple of years ago now. I own a couple of the official statues, including the scale statue, which is way overpriced for the quality, and this is still the most impressive. Like, this is visually stunning. It is a fantastic piece of artwork. And again, this is made by one independent artist and was something that I purchased far before Good Smell Company or any big brands were picking up the license for it. This was the only thing that was available, and the quality clearly outshines a lot of the available official merchandise, which costs just as much in some cases. Oh hell, what about Nana? It was a series that was always beloved, but thanks to social media, has gained a whole new generation of fans. People who are going on to create edits on places like TikTok, people who are creating fan art and fan prints, people who are making plushies and clothing. I personally loved the older angel type Nana clothing and jewelry that they did. They did these really beautiful silver jewelry pieces, which I own two of. I have the Ren lock and the 707 key, and they also did a couple of like t-shirts and bits and pieces as well based off of Nana. And equally, another indie brand also did Nana merchandise before any official merchandise was starting to be pumped out, and that was Shop Secret Heart, and they did this fantastic Nana belt, which I still own. They did this beautiful kind of red mohair sweater. They did a lot of really cool stuff. They were producing high quality clothes way before the likes of things like Vivienne Westwood and Uniqlo came on the scene. And although it is hard to prove, and so this is just my opinion, so take it with a grain of salt, as a fan of Vivienne Westwood and Nana, and as somebody who has made many viral videos on Vivienne Westwood jewelry, Vivienne Westwood collectibles, the orb lighters, and Nana, I'd personally say that this new wave of enthusiasm for Ayazawa's works is half the reason we've had so many collaborations, especially outside of Japan. Sure, there might have always been something penciled in, but I feel like we may not have gotten the Vivienne Westwood Nana collaboration with such hype here in the UK or in the US if it wasn't for the fact that they know that there are active fans with their wallets ready, wanting to pay money towards it, wanting to support Ayazawa and the official Nana merchandise. However, for every Nana collaboration or visual novel being revived for merchandise, we also have situations where fans get a little bit too enthusiastic, dare I say a little bit too entitled.
Well, you guys have no Szechuan sauce? No. I want Szechuan sauce! Where's my Szechuan sauce? I'm Pickle Rick! What beloved Dum Dum! I'm Pickle Rick! 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 I'm Pickle Rick!
We all remember the Rick and Morty fan base, don't we? The moment that Pickle Rick episode dropped, the aura of the show went from a he's so me, I'm so intelligent, edgy, and misunderstood vibe to this really bratty, edgelord meme culture energy, and started screaming "I'm Pickle Rick" at the underpaid McDonald's workers who were desperately just trying to make it through their shift. The desire to bring back the McDonald's Mulan Szechuan dipping sauce was originally a meme that quickly went from funny to deeply annoying. It was the physical pain of rolling your eyes as somebody thought it was really funny and interesting and cool to again do this shtick at anime conventions, scream really loudly in the convention corridor, and just make a nuisance out of themselves. Mind you, half the time not being in cosplay, they would just be wearing a Pickle Rick t-shirt or something stupid. They weren't even cosplaying Pickle Rick. I could forgive you if you were doing a whole like pickle costume and then had like all the rat arms and everything made. At that point, you've kind of earned it. But they were never doing anything so cool. They were always just like in a Pickle Rick t-shirt, a Rick and Morty t-shirt, or maybe dressed as Rick Sanchez. Badly, mind you. Many people started to lose interest in Rick and Morty and being seen as a fan due to the shifting public opinion of the fan base going from positive to deeply negative. Articles were being written about why people were ashamed to be a Rick and Morty fan, attributing the downfall of the series to its consumers at large. Typing in Rick and Morty fans into YouTube, you'll find a plethora of videos from creators that you might recognize, again, just kind of dogging on how cringeworthy and annoying the fandom became. But of course, this is by no means the first or only fandom to become known as toxic and cringe, not by a long shot. In fact, the legacy of a lot of adult animated television shows tend to go from very positive to significantly more negative the longer that they go on for and the bigger their fan base becomes. They go from favorable to wince-worthy. Dare I say a second pickle has hit the towers. But if you couldn't already tell, I of course have my own opinions and biases, and so instead I put out a poll to you, my beautiful audience, on Instagram, here on YouTube, and over on TikTok, to tell me what fandom you thought was the most toxic. And needless to say, a lot of the results weren't exactly surprising.
Has been hotel.
Has been hotel.
Amazing digital circus.
My Hero Academia.
My Hero
Amazing Digital Circus.
I'm not surprised. To be fair, there were a few others included in here. It wasn't just these three fandoms that were named the worst. And so instead of criticizing these fandoms one by one, I'm going to use these three as a main case study as to some of the continuing issues and patterns of behavior that we're noticing within fandoms that are leading people to go from liking them to finding them cringeworthy or dislikable. The repeat offenders and behaviors that makes these series so controversial for onlookers and those from within the fandom. I already know this section is going to be a rough watch for many, so please just stick with me here. Let me just hear me out. So when talking about young fans, I think it's incredibly important to acknowledge that not only does a lot of media benefit from having younger fans, but they also actively encourage it. A topic that could very easily be a video of its own, and very well might be in future, is how modern mascot horror often tries to market itself broadly enough that it can appeal to a wide variety of ages, all the way from adults to people who shouldn't be playing the game according to the age rating. Sure, the age in the game might say Peggy 16, but when your characters are often emblematic of popular children's characters or follow the FNAF school of design, it's not hard to see why many young fans use this as their gateway into horror.
Appropriate for kids? Hi Lol, I don't know if this is the right place to ask, but I'm a kindergarten teacher and several boys in my class, ages 5 to 6, are obsessed with Poppy Playtime. Any chance they get their hands on crayons, they're drawing Nightmare Huggy Wuggy, and one boy brings this terrifying purple cat to school. And it's all they play at recess, taking turns pretending to be different characters. From what I can see, it seems like a horror game. Would you let a kindergartner play or watch bits of Poppy Playtime? Laugh Mal, let me know please.
The difference between something like Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared's fanbase and Poppy's Playtime, in my opinion, is intent. Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared is old school mascot horror. It was the thing that you stumbled across when you were younger that you definitely felt like you shouldn't be watching. It came far before the tried and true formula of make things scary on Steam as a way to shill plush to children. I discovered Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared as a kid, and I have loved it very staunchly into adulthood, but I don't think it ever encouraged me as a teenager or others my age to engage with it in a way that I see with a lot of modern fandoms. The merch that Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared initially offered was often sparse, with the Lazy Oaf collaboration with Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared being something that I saved many paychecks to buy secondhand in order to wear it to my university graduation.
Woo! Woohoo!
And I really, really regret selling my yellow guy jumper, my Tony the Clock bag, and that pinafore. I am so regretful. I really would like to rebuy it because I shouldn't have sold it, but I sold it when I was broke and I regret doing that. The barrier to entry for something like Don't Hug Me, I'm Scared was free because after all, it was posted on YouTube, but the way that the creators interacted with fans didn't feel like pandering. It was that kind of feeling of I'm not meant to be here, kind of similar to how you might watch horror movies when your parents are out of the house. You look at their DVD collection or you look at something on Netflix when you know you're not meant to, but it feels like you want to anyway. However, many modern series, both indie and industry, are fully aware at how much more likely success will be if you can tap into that teen or pre-teen market. I love the whole concept of cute things gone dark as much as the next horror fan. And of course, that in itself isn't a new concept. We've had stuff like Chucky, Dolly Dearest, and other kind of cute things gone bad stories for a long, long time before. For example, Has Been Hotel is an adult show. It says as much in its introduction to the series. It tries, and oftentimes in my opinion fails, to tackle things like trauma, essay, abuse, and addiction with a level of sincerity. It tries to tackle those things in a very real way. Again, I wouldn't say it does a very good job of that personally, but it does try to tackle it. It does try to show a more human, gritty angle despite the animation style and setting. And as such, the episodes are often rated as an 18 by the BFFC board here in the UK. And to be clear, to be rated an 18 is quite a hard thing to do, considering that a lot of horror movies are rated as a 15. So again, to get an 18 rating on most of your episodes is actually quite impressive. I'm assuming it's due to the amount of swearing in it, but I don't know. I've seen horror movies with gore in it that get a lower rating. And yet when I watch the show, I can't help but feel like the quirky character personalities, the writing, all feel a little bit immature, a little bit like it's not meant for my age demographic. Like the way that swearing is used in the dialogue within the show just feels really inorganic and kind of feels like the first time I learned how to swear and I was using it all of the time in school and it just sounded immature because the way that I was using the swear words wasn't meaningful, it was just kind of constant to be edgy and interesting and mature. And equally, stuff like Lucifer's rubber duck obsession or Angel's pet pig also just feel like an easy way of marketing to teenagers. It's these kind of small bean-isms, as I'm gonna call it, that you would find all over Tumblr and teenagers used to go crazy for in the 2010s. Hell, even the merchandise kind of feels like it's not made strictly for adults, not like it's made for its 18 rated audience. These graphic prints in bright colors, these very kind of, I don't know how to say this in a way that doesn't feel kind of mean towards whoever's doing the graphic design or whatever, but I feel like the Pride shirts, for as much as I'm hoping that they were donating to a good cause, they probably were donating to something like Stonewall, which is great, but I feel like the Pride shirts, again, felt a bit of a weird one to me personally. Like, as someone as an onlooker from the fandom, didn't feel like they were necessarily made for adults, which is fine, but again, 18 rated show. And of course also just like backpacks and more trinkety items of the characters, which wouldn't necessarily be used by adults in day-to-day life. And again, to be clear, there is nothing wrong with liking any of these things, owning or wearing any of these things, if you are an adult. I am not saying there is anything wrong with it. Not at all. At the end of the day, you don't need to take an idea of what is cool or not cool or fine or whatever from me. I'm literally standing in a room full of anime figurines. I've got these statues over here, which people have an opinion on, and that's fine. I am not the proprietor of cool. Let's be quite clear here. I am not the proprietor of cool. And so if you are somebody who likes this merch and you are an adult and a taxpayer, hell yeah, pay your taxes and buy whatever merch you want. That's the joy of being an adult. I am not here to criticize that whatsoever. But again, my point is I feel like a lot of the merchandise, and I'll put examples on screen, feel like it's marketed more to kids. Like, it feels like something that as a teenager you'd see in Hot Topic, and I feel like as an adult I haven't shopped in anywhere like Hot Topic seriously for a good 10 years. However, doesn't it seem a bit odd that a show that is marketed around stuff like addiction and adult work and has a character named after PCP seems to be pandering to what they must see as a very vocal young part of their audience? And this is kind of where the dichotomy between the adult themes of the show and the age of some of these fans starts to come at odds. I have seen firsthand, as well as seen other accounts of people noticing a big volume of kids going to anime conventions or cosplay meetups wearing Has Been Hotel or Hell of a Boss costumes. You could argue that characters like Charlie Morningstar or Nifty are more appropriate for kids. They would definitely like to tell you so, my god. If you discuss this online, kids will come in the comment sections being like, hey, I'm just a kid, but by the way, it's okay to cosplay Charlie. You are just a kid.
Hot take. Kids should be allowed to watch Has Been Hotel. I mean, like, kids already watch it, so why would we try to prevent them from watching it when they already do? When I was 9, I started watching Has Been Hotel. Side note, my favorite character is Angel Dust. He's so silly.
It's up to you, and it's between you and your parent at the end of the day. However, it doesn't stop there, because quite often you will still see obviously minors, obviously underage people dressing as characters like Angel Dust, who is canonically an adult worker, a nightlife worker, an addict, and quite a big focal point for a lot of the kind of trauma within the series. And when you do say, hey, maybe don't cosplay this character until you're 18, you will get met with a lot of angry comments of kids telling you that they know better, that they're old enough, that they don't care and they're gonna do it anyway. Many adults in fandoms do feel like they have to be responsible for other people's children when it comes to attending anime conventions or going to cosplay meetups. They feel uncomfortable wearing a costume that they're allowed to wear because they know that children may then be inserting themselves or introducing themselves into a space that is now mixed ages when it's technically meant to be marketed towards adults. There's nothing wrong with an adult wearing an Angel Dust costume, but I can't blame them for feeling really uncomfortable if a child comes over and asks them for a selfie because they're a fan of the show, and then trying to navigate that interaction in a way that safeguards that child whilst also trying to contend with this feeling that you don't want to be there. Or if we're going to step away from the cosplay element for a minute, what about the child that attended a GalaxyCon panel with voice actors from Has Been Hotel and asked them this?
Question is specifically for Blake. When you, in episode 1, when you had to record the voice lines for the sex scene, for the sex tape, were you ever embarrassed when you had to do the, like, yes, daddy, and moaning?
To be clear, this person's voice...
Can anybody see this person?
I'm 9.
This person's voice is lower than mine. They're 34.
You're so mature.
So everyone chill the fuck out.
Where are your parents?
Over there.
Shame on you.
In fact, by the looks of it, multiple times at this GalaxyCon, kids were coming up and in attendance of this panel with these VAs, sometimes in cosplay. Some of the questions were totally innocent and some of them weren't, and at the end of the day, it is up to con staff and the con rules to enforce an age limit if there is one on panels. But again, I don't blame people for being uncomfortable, especially when this was streamed live. It's so important for you as a parent to be an active participant in what your kid is watching, in what your kid is engaging with. It is your responsibility. That is your tiny human. Please take care of them. Don't send them to a convention without a trusted guardian on their hip at all times. Because at the end of the day, other people aren't there to babysit your kid. And if something happens to them, it is entirely your responsibility. It's not the kid's fault. It's not other attendees' fault. It is your fault. From an outsider looking in, I'm not surprised that so many people put Has Been Hotel down as one of the most toxic fandoms of 2026. It is a show that has actively cultivated and pandered to such a wide age demographic.
Is Has Been Hotel age appropriate for my 8-year-old son? He said that show was what all the kids talk about, but when he tries to watch it on his account, they say he can't. Why do kids watch what is not age appropriate for them?
And look, I do get it. I myself don't consider me or my content to be for children. I am not a children's entertainer and I am not a kids channel. But I am aware that the internet is a free-for-all and kids will always end up where they're not meant to, regardless of whether you tell them no. Especially because social media algorithms also push it to them. Like, they are actively fed this stuff. And so in response, I've kind of always made my content accessible enough where even if the topic isn't made for kids or appropriate for kids, it can still be processed and watched by them in a way that I feel is generally a bit safer. Because ultimately, it's my contribution to harm reduction in a space that otherwise pushes anything to anyone. This mixing pot of ages also means that despite the age rating of the show, there's very few adult-only spaces for conversation, discussion, cosplay, and artwork. So many fandoms, especially those with adult topics, have so much discourse within them purely coming from teens versus adults. Taking a game that I very clearly love, Needy Girl Overdose, it tires me out endlessly to see so many discussions coming from minors about a game and its themes that was never meant for them. And again, that's not me saying that teenagers aren't allowed an opinion. On the contrary, I have always been an opinionated arsehole and I was more so as a teenager. However, that does make me feel a little bit more qualified to say that some spaces simply don't need your input. Especially when your source for that input is I heard it from a friend, I saw it in a comment section, I saw another video that I can't remember the name of or who posted it saying this, or I always had a bad vibe. In the current political state of the world, misinformation is already a huge issue, a huge issue. But social media comment sections and slime rant videos are a hotbed for terrible takes and the most vitriolic game of telephone I think I've ever witnessed. The use of terms like pedo or predator have essentially lost all of their weight online too, because so often these things are used as a joke or are regurgitated by loud users without a second of individual fact checking. And again, adults are also culpable of this too. Adults do this as well, don't get me wrong, we know this, we've been knowing this, look at our politicians. But so often when you do click on one of these comments and you go to that person's profile, it has level 14 or level 16 in the bio. For series and media that is aimed squarely at adults, you can hopefully start to understand how tiring it could be wanting to post a cosplay of a character such as Angel Dust and having to deal with comments saying daddy from, again, teenagers at times. A lot of my cosplay friends have been going through this, or even being accused of glorifying SA and abuse because you're cosplaying a victim of that behavior. The way that the mouthwashing fandom tore itself apart within months was wild work. The release of the Onion Android by Good Smile Company had so many people in an absolute feeding frenzy of drama. Some people were saying that the Nendroid was distasteful and wrong, glorifying what happens to a woman in a game by basically immortalizing it as part of her character and selling it. Meanwhile, others were basically saying, well, it's a horror game. You're gonna have horror content. The character does have that happen in the party scene. It's not an out of place thing to have.
Randall, there is a cow outside.
There's a cow farm. You're gonna find cows outside.
Fork found in kitchen, dare I say. All the while, people have been faking burn marks, sitting in wheelchairs and pretending to have lost their limbs in order to cosplay Curly, and using Curly quite often as the punchline of many jokes and memes in the fandom. And again, I'm not saying there is anything wrong about having discussions about the ethics of selling that Nendroid or the ethics of cosplaying Curly. I'm not saying there's anything bad about having those discussions. In fact, I think it's good and healthy to have those discussions, have open conversation. But it's more so the extreme way that they often get escalated, where it goes from being productive to deeply personal and at times just very toxic and unproductive. It's a seeming lack of nuance and critical thinking. The I think it's wrong, so therefore it must be wrong attitude that many attribute down to age and a lack of life experience. And again, it's not a crime to be young and have a lack of life experience, but it is quite often easy to spot when people are young based off of how they engage in these conversations. But again, I also think that media like Has Been Hotel doesn't do anything to deter it. Sure, they can't stop kids from watching the show just as much as games can't stop kids from watching Markiplier playthroughs.
Was that the bite of 87?
Most of us, if not all of us, did this exact same stuff as a kid, and for many of us, it is actually a kind of canon life event as being a young fan. However, I really think it is easy to forget that there is a lack of a third space for kids right now. When many kids come home from school, they're not going into the living room and watching Simpsons on Channel 4 at 6 o'clock like I did. They usually have a smartphone or an iPad or a personal PC that they can watch things like YouTube on, that they can play games or communicate with their friends on. And even when young people have had fandom-based social media that is aimed at them, such as Amino, those spaces are very hard to safeguard and gatekeep away from adults with nefarious intentions. It feels like now kids come home, watch TikTok, they make video edits or put photo replies on Tyler Catastrophe videos. Everybody know about Tyler Catastrophe? Literally the hottest subject of YouTube the past week, 2 weeks. Feels like every single creator has made a video on Tyler Catastrophe. Can somebody else post something, please? Can anyone else post content about anyone, literally anything else? The way that we as young fans interacted with fandoms isn't much different than it is now, but we just had much less focus on social media and much less need for the affirmation that it gives. Instagram fame, TikTok fame, 15 seconds of fame, these just weren't things that anyone really cared about to any great degree when it came to being in a fandom when I was a teenager. Sure, you had internet successes, you had internet celebrities and stars, but generally speaking, no one was going out of their way to post or create in order to gain fame, in order to gain infamy. That just wasn't a motivation, and so the way we interact with social media was far less significant. But now teens do feel an inherent pressure and need to be seen as involved in an online community in order to feel like part of the community. The barrier for entry is lower than ever, but it can also grant much more freedom that many teenagers understand the gravity of. I can't and won't blame young fans for being loud, argumentative, stubborn, and sometimes difficult to deal with, because that's just being a teenager. That is a rite of passage. I have literally no doubt that if older Gen Z fans and beyond had the same access to social media that young people do now, we'd probably be behaving the same way, whether we'd like to admit it or not. Especially when, again, so many games and series actively pander to those below their age rating. And to be clear, saying I'm a minor as an excuse to be a jerk online or get into arguments with adults is not a get out of jail free card. Like, you don't just get to weaponize being a minor when it's convenient for you. I think that's a bit unfair and a bit silly when you yourself are actively putting yourself in that position of being argumentative. But I do think it's a very low blow when so many fandoms chalk up their toxicity to kids being involved, when ultimately it's adults who are setting those systems up. Another thing that many feel is poisoning the well when it comes to fandoms is the desire to have e-fame. People from all fandoms, people from all walks of life want a slice of that digital recognition. Unlike the earlier days of fandom, a lot of your qualifications as a fan feel like they need to be made public and also be backed up by having a following. For cosplayers, this can feel increasingly necessary in an ever-growing competitive landscape online. It feels like to gain any traction or career in this niche, you need to have a big online following. And technically, that's not incorrect. Having an online audience does help when it comes to having a creative career in 2026. The whole song of the summer thing, or making a song that actively catches the interest of TikTok trends, is an active marketing tool that musicians kind of need to use in order to compete in, again, a very oversaturated market. Unfortunately, being active on social media is kind of necessary in a lot of creative careers. And I guess coming off the back of that, a recent controversy surrounded cosplayer and content creator Stella Chu, where on a podcast that you can find here on YouTube, hosted by Inkwell, asking the question as to whether cosplay is sustainable as a career, Stella went on to say this.
So cosplay contests aren't actually part of the cosplay community. People think they are, but they're not. The reason being is that at a cosplay convention, 100 people enter the cosplay contest. The cosplay contest does not get broadcasted. Only the audience members get to watch. So you waste your entire Saturday. In that time, a TikToker would have made like 50 videos with 300 people.
And people did not like this take. And no, before people jump down my throat, I also don't agree with this take. Cosplay contests quite literally predate the modern cosplay community and are also an essential part of cosplay history. Cosplay was originally handmade costumes at early sci-fi conventions, and it later on became things like cosplay competitions and masquerades as time went on. I do have a video lightly penciled in about this topic, as well as a panel that I have done and I'm doing this weekend in Perth about the history of cosplay and about the importance of cosplay. So I do like to think I'm pretty well read up on the history of cosplay and the importance of masquerades and competitions. I think a lot of people understandably felt like this take was kind of just boiling down cosplay and competitions into TikTok views and engagement. A recent thing that for many of us didn't even exist when we first started cosplaying. For me, as somebody who's been attending anime conventions for over a decade, I personally love going to them because I love indulging in the things that I enjoy in person. It's a space to cosplay, it's a space to meet people, it's a space to joke about things and buy things and see artwork. Even before I gained any kind of major following online, I would attend these events and I already knew a lot of the people who worked there. I was already friends with cosplayers there. I kind of had a little circuit and community of people that I already knew. I've also worked plenty of times on convention stalls at major conventions. I don't blame people for being upset and feeling like, unintentionally or not, this take really leans into these hierarchical and very sanitized views of what anime and cosplay community is, disregarding the hard work of cosplay competition entrants who have even had Stella herself as a judge for some events, because Stella is a very capable and very skilled cosmaker and cosplayer. I think it was this idea of only being in the hobby for the money or for the stability of money, which is also a criticism that people have leveled at other creators such as Baby No Money. And sure, to be clear, some people really are just in the hobby for money and fame. They can get away with an unironed AliExpress cosplay and out of the bag wig purely because they fit Eurocentric beauty standards. If you're white, skinny, and you put on a blue wig, you will be called the best Miku cosplayer even if you haven't fucking tried. I get why people were upset and felt that she, as a big name in cosplay, could have better clarified or amended this in response to people's disappointment. But to be fair, the podcast was about if cosplay is sustainable as a career and how to make it sustainable as a career. And in that sense, I can completely understand why the focus would be on earning money and the best ways of doing so when it comes to sustainability and longevity, doing it as a job. Unfortunately, TikTok AdSense does pay beans, and trying to grow any kind of platform anywhere is very, very difficult currently because it's a very oversaturated market. However, to play devil's advocate, because I feel like somebody kind of does need to here when it comes to relation of making cosplay sustainable, there are a few ways that posting videos can make cosplay a sustainable career and can make it easier to go to more events. Firstly, if you do perform in competitions, if you do love making your cosplays and wanting to submit them into masquerades and competitions, then filming the production of your cosplays, filming tutorials for other cosplayers, and also just having videos of you wearing the cosplay and showing off the cosplay can be a really great thing for your build book, but can also be a great way of showcasing your work for people who aren't able to attend the convention in person. And equally, posting videos and photos of you in cosplay, especially at conventions, can later lead to the opportunities of getting free tickets as a creator, meaning that you're able to attend more conventions, or at least the door fee for conventions more often. You're able to take off a chunk of the cost. And of course, by posting regularly, you can also get opportunities to work with brands and do paid work with brands. I've done paid work with Genshin Impact, I've cosplayed for Genshin Impact, but even just if you're a smaller cosplayer posting your cosplay content, you can very often get free contact lenses, although please don't work with TTDI. They're not safe, don't work with them. But if you get offered by Uniqso or Pinky Paradise, they're very reliable, they're very, very good. I do recommend it. And you can also get free costumes as well by posting content. And so that can also make cosplay more sustainable because it can make it more affordable to do new cosplays. It can make it a little easier on your wallet doing a hobby. I think if you're making cosplay a career online, a lot of it is more about impressive visuals, makeup artistry, and selling the character through a screen. And unfortunately, that can also rely on conventional good looks and just being the kind of person who would have already got positive attention for the way that they look online out of cosplay. Whilst cosplay competitions and cosplay competitors can make a career through their skills, they can network with people around them, they can show off their work to judges who may have industry links, and they may also get to come across cosplayers who want to commission them for work. There's a few different avenues that you can have as somebody who can do seamstressing skills, as somebody who can do foam making skills. And again, I wouldn't say that either of these careers are better than the other one. They're just two different ways of doing the job, two different ways of having a career in this space. And again, they are not the only ways. You can be an artist, you can be a trader. There's so many ways that you can be in a nerdy creative space as a job that don't rely on being on social media or making costumes. Again, there's a balance to it. I know many wonderful cosmakers as well as just cosplayers who use out of the bag costumes, and all of them are wonderful and fantastic. However, in a sea of fair criticism and feedback and think pieces, there are unfortunately some people who used it as an opportunity to do TikTok's favorite pastime, which is, if I think person is bad, then it's okay morally for me to bully them. Dare I say that fandom's obsession with internet glory and the need to be right often leads to community cannibalism a little bit. If somebody posts a take within a fandom that others don't agree with, many people often don't engage with it in good faith, going to the ends of the earth and getting as angry and as heated as it takes to be seen as right and to vilify the person that they're arguing against. This can be on a subject as divisive as shipping, which, oh my god, shipping wars are crazy. You don't even want to get involved. Don't get involved in a shipping discourse, I beg. It's just not worth it. It's never worth it. Which, by the way, media literacy is dead when people are considering Doomed Yuri as a dark ship. Madoka Magica is a dark ship. Shut up. Shut up. Do your homework. Do something productive. What are we on about? What are we doing? However, this can equally be as minimal as somebody saying, I don't like this character, or I don't really like this show or series or media. In the case of content creators or just those who gain virality in the worst possible way, a mistake or even just a lukewarm take is enough for TikTok users to post cancelled next to your name like a scarlet letter. People want human creators and relatable spaces. People yearn for the old days of YouTube. Where did Zoe Sugg go? I miss old Dan and Phil. I miss the vlog crew. I miss the Brit crew. I miss how things used to be when it was all authentic and nice and everybody was nice and normal. It wasn't this big game of fame. But when people have a human opinion or make a human mistake that others don't agree with, they cast them out. They throw them out with such anger, later going on to lament the lack of good creators fresh off the corpse of the last one that they just consumed. Like, really, it is this predictable vitriolic news cycle in every fandom. Like, you can predict it. Every week, there's a new person of the week, a new villain of the week, there's a new meme of the week, there's a new viral video of the week. Hey guys, we're in the original. Smile guys, we're in the original. Shut up. Actually, it's so evil and toxic and mean. Like, so often it goes from being a little bit funny to people just wanting to be angry and witch hunt and put somebody's head on a spike. Like, you guys, not you watching, not you guys, not you, hopefully not you. come on now. But like so many people just use it as an opportunity to be fucking vile. Like some people are fucking vile with it. Like they really are. It's like you've killed their family. Like cancellation is just so unserious despite being so angry and overwhelming for those who are on the other end of it.
If he comes at me with a chainsaw, I'm gonna do this. And boom, I lived.
Stellar Chew being cancelled went from well-informed videos that were correcting it or discussing it and just kind of wanting an explanation or wanting to expand on it or wanting to offer their opinion, which again, you're allowed to do. At the end of the day, it's the internet. It is what it is. You're allowed to make an opinion or form an opinion or post an opinion. That's the joy of the internet. To randoms also just using goofy Roblox sounds and photo edits and memes being like, what the hell? Shut up. It went from something productive with people who have skin in the game to just randoms wanting to have their piece of the drama pie. People being genuinely vile to her under the term of problematic, which again is one of the most overused terms ever. I've used it before because it's a clickbait term. That is just what it's turned into. It is literally just clickbait, word vomit. It is what it is. Like if you're watching a YouTube video, thumbnails and titles kind of have to be clickbaity. That is just business, unfortunately. I wish it weren't. It kind of is. You can make a really good positive video and people won't watch it. You make a drama video on Tyler Catastrophe and all of a sudden it gets 200,000 views in a day. And look, I get it. We all have opinions. I make my fuck-ass opinion my job and plenty of people don't like it. But I do feel like so many fandoms are so hair-trigger when it comes to minor infractions, going ahead to then make somebody's life a living hell by proxy. Harassing cosplayers just for the crime of being cringe or just for the way they look in some cases.
I don't care. I will never forgive y'all for running that one Deku cosplayer completely off the internet. Hi, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking about this video right here that I posted back in early 2020. If you don't know me, I am the Todoroki cosplayer from this video. Believe it or not, I'm not actually here to talk about the comments people have made about me because I personally don't care. I know that that video is cringy. I know that it was stupid. I posted it when I was a kid and to this day, I still make fun of it. I still cringe at that video. This isn't what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the horrible, horrible comments that I have seen about the cosplayer who duetted that video. I was mutuals with this person back in 2020 and I believe that I'm still mutuals with them to this day. They just don't post anymore because they know if they did, they would receive the same kind of crude and awful comments that they got back then too. I can't even open the comment section anymore without it just being memes of this person's face. The whole comment section. More. Again. I don't care if it's just a joke to you guys. If you partook in that at all, you helped successfully ruin someone's life.
One cosplayer called Cosplayer96 had the most vile comments posted all over their content purely because they did the Hikari dance trend, which I also did by the way, but they were just like not abbed up, they didn't have abs, they weren't ripped, and they had body hair, which I fear is normal because they are an adult. I feel body hair is normal. Using AI to make photos of him look bigger to make him obese, which is also ironic considering the crucifixion other creators and cosplayers have had for using AI. So again, a little bit weird. As well as people also saying that he again was setting the community back. What does that even mean?
Hi, Cosplayer96, aka that one Hikari cosplayer. I just want to let you guys know that I'm not sorry for cosplaying as Hikari. I like doing Hikari. This was a closet cosplay, and people were body shaming the hell out of me, but in the end, I benefited from it. I got powerful because of haters like you. And I want to say to all my followers and kind supporters, thank you. Thank you for giving me a chance. Thank you for sticking with me. And if any of these haters harassed you, I apologize. Let's all stick together. Let's fight hate with love. I'm with you.
Being predatory or creepy or noncy is actually it's just now a popular joke apparently. Like I've seen it on so many videos at this point. I've seen it on animatics. I've seen it on this guy's posts. Like again, like what are we doing? Why is this normalized behavior in fandoms to go around accusing people of very, very heavy accusations, life-ruining accusations, as if it's just a joke? Tee hee, angel shot, I need an angel shot. People, okay, yeah, is that funny? Is that funny? You better not be the same crowd that was annoyed about the onion android. Again, hypocrisy is a human thing, because I guarantee people who were posting like, oh my god, I need an angel shot, tee hee, like, oh my god, is anyone else scared in the comments right now? I bet your bottom fucking dollar you're gonna go on somebody's post who is scared of like a man being weird or something, and you're like, oh my god, babe, like it's not funny, people need to take it seriously, why are people posting photo responses in the comments? Yeah, you're the guy. That's you in a different font. What are we doing? Meanwhile, criminals, convicted criminals such as Chris Chan, get made into these almost cryptid level memes for cosplays and even merchandise at anime conventions. The amount of people I see cosplaying Chris Chan and making it a joke, despite the severity of their crimes being enough to justify stalking them their whole life. Like, again, we've got some disparity here in the narrative when it comes to how we treat people. Why are so many creators who have consistently been a net positive or completely harmless to their respective communities constantly under threat of abuse and harassment, and yet cosplaying a predator or selling merchandise of their character at anime conventions is still a funny meme in 2026? Dare I say that 300 years ago, some of these fans would be the ones burning women as witches. And equally, these same fans that bully others under the guise of they're bad so it's okay, suddenly turning a blind eye or becoming baby-bred ignorant when it comes to racism and genuine toxicity within their ranks. The Amazing Digital Circus is a fandom that has recently been a sad display of their community letting themselves down. Voice actors Michael Kovac and Ashley Nichols recently had a 7-year-old video resurface where they were making a joke regarding the N slur. During a game of Jackbox Live, they misunderstood the usernames of one of the people in their stream, and so later in the stream they ended up making a t-shirt design based around the username negative, playing into the misunderstanding of the pronunciation of it, with Michael Kovac then signing off at the end of that segment by saying goodbye NEGA. They were all grown adults, and both Ashley and Michael Kovac have put statements on their Twitter apologizing, and at the end of the day, it is not my apology to accept, it's not my apology to give any take on, because to be quite blunt, I have never faced any kind of oppression based off of the usage of that word. But it is the fans' responses that I want to personally get into. Because you see, the Amazing Digital Circus fandom apparently already had an ongoing issue with racism and fat phobia within it. However, having the fandom's darling character Jax now coming under fire really illuminated how far many fans were willing to go to justify and baby the actions of an adult man and downplay the upset of the black community within it.
Hot take. I do not care about the Amazing Digital Circus controversy, mainly to do with its voice actor Michael Kovac. I saw the clip and I saw what he said, but we also need to remember that that was all said 7 years ago. That's right, 7 years ago, and people are still blaming him for it. He apologized after it being brought up, and also explained how he was immature, which I understand, it was 7 years ago. Yes, he was still a grown adult and should know better and to not say that and joke about that, but once again, he's matured enough and he's grown to see that his actions were wrong. He apologized multiple times about this, and I don't see why it's still being complained about if it was 7 years ago. I know I keep bringing this up, but if it was 7 years ago and I did something like that, I would have forgotten about it too, and I would have apologized only when it was brought up back to my memory. We need to remember that this has not been a recent action. If it was a recent action, no, I would not forgive him for this. But since it's just so old, I do forgive him, and I feel like it's not his fault.
Hey y'all, Euro here, and I want to talk about my take on the Kovac situation. So, in case you don't know, 7 years ago, Michael, who is the voice actor for famous characters like Jax from Tadcore and from Murder Drones, he said the N-word, I'm pretty sure, and now he's being bashed because of it. This is obviously wrong no matter the time period, although he did apologize for it and recognized what he did was wrong. But obviously just because he apologized doesn't make it any less wrong. But it was 7 years ago, though he probably changed drastically since then. But obviously, I don't know him personally or anything, and I have no idea how his mind works, but I'm pretty sure people can change within that time. Also, I am not defending him. I am simply stating what I think.
It has been a digital slurry of faceless slime rants defending Michael by saying that it was 7 years ago and he's obviously changed, and people are being a bit silly because he didn't actually say the word, even though Michael himself did say and apologize for the fact that actually the joke only works because it is actively playing on the N-word. Meanwhile, the black community, as per usual, is having to pull up a chair once again and gentle parent netizens as to why this joke has upset some people, why this joke can be upsetting, why they can feel upset at that voice actor and maybe their response, as well as how the community is now responding to the voice actor's usage of that word. And to be clear, the joke, regardless of whether you found it funny or offensive or not, has now led to a lot of memes and artwork, as well as one popular content creator deciding to replicate this incident at the glitch booth at a convention.
Yo, it's my nigga! What's up, nigga?
Bye, nigga! NEGA!
This behavior being normalized, being questioned, and being made into a meme made space for this kind of behavior to suddenly feel okay and appropriate. Sometimes it's not just the original behavior that's an issue, but it's also the fallout that it causes and encourages. With racism, sometimes we don't need to understand it to simply listen. I will never know the lived experience of being a person of color, of being a minority group judged and discriminated against based off the color of my skin. And although I do try my best to use my platform to elevate their voices and to talk about situations pertaining to the things that they go through within fandoms and niches, I also know that every day is still a school day for me. It's why in my video on body paint, I invited black cosplayers to come on and talk about their lived experience as a black cosplayer, as well as talk about why using protected hairstyles or skin colors as a costume is not okay. Because ultimately, they are the best people to illuminate others who don't have those experiences about why these things are an issue. Even though, to be honest, at this point, it's 2026, we should be knowing better. I don't think we have a lack of resources, I just think some of us don't want to open our ears or don't want to look at them. Equally, I've had meet and greets at conventions where the Digital Circus VAs have been present, and I can certify that Michael Kovac's line was the longest there. It spiraled around the creators table at points, like it was so long. I don't think Michael Kovac is going to be losing his career over this. I don't think Ashley is going to be losing her career over this. I don't think any of the cast are. I think the amazing Digital Circus coming to cinemas is a good thing. I think indie animation getting to be in the big screen is a really good thing. Iron Lung was a fantastic success. Amazing Digital Circus come to cinemas is great. Anime now screening in cinemas is great. Like, it's a net positive. And I also haven't seen any videos from black creators calling to cancel anyone. No one's trying to cancel anyone.
Yo, it's my nigga. What's up, nigga? Bye, nigga. NEGA.
So, a clip of a voice actor from a popular indie series joking about the N-word resurfaced recently, and a big part of the fandom is ignoring the racism, claiming that black people are overreacting and the actor shouldn't have had to issue an apology. But now you've got people yelling that slur at the company's booth in public because they think it's funny. Any black nerd can tell you that when you enter a fandom, it's not a matter of if you'll experience discrimination, it's when. We see it in the way black cosplayers are treated, what goes viral. The next time you're in an artist alley, count how many prints you see being sold that have any black people. You can't look at the objective reality of bigotry and say, no, that's just an edgy minority. And I'm not saying my boundaries on this are the only correct one, but y'all are consistently creating environments where things like this happen. Do something about your community attracting bigots. And if that's not a deal breaker for you, don't downplay black people speaking against it.
But I think, again, a lot of people are confusing black people just talking about things, calmly, may I add, for being this aggressive cancel culture attitude, which in itself kind of feels like a little bit of a microaggression to kind of see a calm discussion from a black person as an attack on a guy who happens to also just be a white dude. It's not the best optics, I'll tell you that for free. But like, again, no one's calling to cancel these people, at least no one that I've seen, no one whose voices and opinions really seem to matter. Like, faceless slime rants and random videos with Miku dancing in the background, I wouldn't say are a good primary, secondary, or tertiary source for literally any information. However, it will be the people who vehemently defended him that will inevitably have to look back on their own behavior and defense of him if they themselves ever gain their own fandom from their projects or from their digital career. They might find themselves in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years having to basically dress their audience and say, hey, me going out of my way to actively defend the use of the N-word or to actively defend the use or illusion of the N-word was wrong, guys. Like, you don't know where you're going to be in 7 years and how you might feel about that. When Glitch Productions themselves are making it known that they don't agree with this behavior, do fans really need to go out of their way to crucify themselves for a man that is culpable of his own behavior or who they've only met through paid interactions at a convention? Again, I don't think loyalty is a bad trait to have. In fact, it's an important thing to have when it comes to being a fan at times. Most creatives, myself included, do benefit from having people who dedicatedly support what we make or what we do. But when it comes to racism, so many fans suddenly get a lot quieter in their cancel culture crusade. The recent Jabba cosplay controversy is one in a long lineage of instances where people are using protected hairstyles or darkening their skin to cosplay a character, to wear as a costume. Cookie Run Kingdom, Has-Been Hotel, South Park, where somebody decided it was a good idea to dress Kyle in striped pajamas, and then maybe Cartman as a member of the SS, Blackface Alistair, Blackface Serpentius, Cusco from The Emperor's New Groove, cosplayed by a woman who is openly racist. Not to mention this dumbass bootlicker who's cosplaying Freerun as an ICE agent. You would not be popular with the Freerun cast, I fear. Maybe Aura the Guillotine would like you. Meanwhile, the cosplayer has the soulless White Walker stare of somebody who doesn't have an ounce of warmth within their body. When pulled up on this behavior, the argument of, well, cosplay is for everyone gets levied, which is crazy because people don't have that same attitude towards black cosplayers just cosplaying a non-black character. All of a sudden, they are the chocolate version of that character. They are the N-word version of Miku. I don't remember Miku being a slave. Like, that's the kind of comments black people get on their cosplays for just existing, by the way. And yet when black cosplayers are pointing out, hey, I'm getting harassed horrifically for cosplaying, for just being in the hobby, it's crickets. It's crickets. Like, it takes somebody passing away for people to start being a little bit more vocal about, like, cosplay's for everyone, guys. Cosplay's for everyone. How about you just actually care beforehand? How about you care before harm is done? How about that? How about them apples? Stick up for the bloods in the chat, please. Also, I learned the word blood. It's really cool. I really like that word. Stick up for the bloods. Am I allowed? Hopefully that's fine. The idea that black fans are entitled for headcanoning a certain character or drawing fan art of a character as being black, meanwhile, white people are out here giving themselves box braids in order to cosplay a black character is crazy. Like, it's crazy that one gets flamed and the other gets, like, protected. They get babied and infantilized. Like, you look like a massive douche when you're actively defending somebody under the argument of everyone's allowed to cosplay, when black cosplayers have never said that white people can't cosplay black people. They've literally just said, hey, maybe don't do protected hairstyles and paint your skin dark, maybe. Cool? Like, there's a reason why if you're white, you shouldn't be doing box braids and certain type of braiding, not just because of the cultural difference, but also because your hair texture isn't made for it. It's gonna rip your hair out and you're gonna have bald patches. Like, it's not healthy. It's not hard. Just do some research on it. It's just, Google's a free resource. It's a free tool. We all have it. Please, everyone, please. It shouldn't, I feel like I'm on crazy pills having to even explain that, but people will still be like, well, I don't get it. Vikings had braids. Yeah, they had different braids. They had different types of dreadlocks. They had a different thing. It's a different thing. But you're not doing the different thing, and you're also not a Viking. You work at Curry's. Racism permeates so many fandoms that it's hard to deny that it is a widespread issue, especially when so often the source media is already uninclusive. God forbid a black person kindly suggest to you that maybe you shouldn't be doing a protective hairstyle, you shouldn't be doing box braids, or shouldn't be painting your skin darker when you're quite literally the hex code of Casper the Friendly Ghost. Now, I know I'm going to acknowledge that this video has been very negative. I feel like the topic is kind of criticism anyway, like it kind of should come with the territory. But on the real, I do think fans and fandoms are a genuinely wonderful thing. Despite all the trite I've covered, I genuinely do feel like a lot of good does come from the new digital era of fandoms and the new generation of fans. Although there are still complaints to be had, as there will inevitably always be, anime conventions are objectively safer than they used to be. Cosplay and official merchandise is more accessible and income friendly than ever, and anyone can find a community through their smartphone. Sure, it's easy to focus on the negative, and with creators, we are incentivized to focus on the negatives. Unfortunately, the negativity does sell, the negativity does get views, it gets comments, it gets engagement, it sucks. Like, I would love to do a video about how great anime conventions are. Usually I kind of have to tie it in with the negativity because I have to make it leveled and balanced. If I just made a video saying everything's great and I'm happy, people wouldn't fucking care. That's a sad thing, people don't want to see that. Stuff online is fueled by negativity, and it can be hard to focus on the positives when it is incentivized to focus on the negatives. However, I do genuinely believe that most fans are inherently good and inherently good-natured. The truth is, for as much as there absolutely will be people who are creeps or are consuming the media that we enjoy in bad faith, they aren't the majority of people. But it's easy to justify our feelings of discomfort or distaste towards a fandom or a community because only the worst fans ever make it to the news or ever find themselves in controversy. Like with anything, it's important to remember that we have the ability to block people, and we also have the ability to uplift people. We have the ability to engage with positive content and leave a nice comment on somebody's cosplay or their fan art. Keep creating amazing fan art, keep posting your cosplay videos, keep writing smut, dead dove don't eat, and most importantly, keep your fandoms and communities alive and fed. Well, I guess let me know down below, what do you think of fans? What do you think of the current state of fandom? What do you think of current fandom communities and spaces? So many people participated in my poll regarding what you think is the most toxic fandom. Feel free to repeat your answer down below and maybe leave what you think about current fandoms as well down below, the issues with current fandoms. Have a discussion, but keep it civil, please. I also want to give a big thank you to my patrons who actively support me and what I do here on the channel. And these are Nina Hopkins, Falky Gone Missing, Lucy, Shy Raw, Harakivo, Danny16, Sweet Misery, Meryl Lyram, The Galmar, X-Lace_Zale, Cielo Armonia, Neon Ferris Wheel, Florenciaga, Cora Kitty, Shelby, Hive Angel, Onyx, Kira, Mooney, and Icy Law. We got a few new Oshi tier members. We got a few new Oshi tier members. Thank you so much. But of course, we also have our beautiful Otaku tier members on screen too. Again, a big thank you to you guys. I really, really appreciate the support. As you probably saw from the little Patreon bumper earlier in the video, it really does help me out a lot when it comes to equipment, when it comes to working on bigger projects, when it comes to being more ambitious. But of course, as always, the cheapest and easiest way to support me and what I do is by hitting the subscribe button and the bell icon beside it to never miss a video. Please like, comment, use the hype feature. I'm gonna put a picture of it on screen. Use that little motherfucker right there. Use that hype feature. Please share the video, save the video, share it with a friend. Please as well, if you are if you are practicing a skill, if you're making something, whilst watching this video, right now, take a picture of what you're doing right now, and share it with me over on Instagram. Tag me on Instagram and show what you're doing whilst watching the video. I always find it really, really funny to see what people are up to. I feel so flattered when artists and creatives listen to my video as like a little audio background whilst they're working. I love people telling me that they watch my videos when they fall asleep, because I do that too. One that I was listening to recently, again, was the National Mystery Flesh Pit video by Wendigoon. Really enjoy that video. Now it's time for the end of the video. Outfit check finally, and some of your amazing fan art. Bye!